Descent into Darkness, a Call of Cthulhu campaign. Hello and welcome back to Descent into Darkness, Season 3, Episode 13. Preparations to summon and perhaps bind an ancient djinn have begun. Gunshots echo in the distance from the direction of Ross's corner, and Jimmy Whitmire clings to a shred of sanity amidst blood and bullets. I am Travis, and I will be your keeper of arcane lore. Before we descend, I was going to say the final flight of steps, but the perhaps penultimate flight of steps into the blackness, let's get an introduction from our players.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm playing Detective Jack Glover, currently on suspension for not one, but now 2 killings. And I'm hoping I don't get one-shotted by a djinn this session.
I'm Brandon, playing Wallace Andrews, MD, and my medical doctorate will provide me no benefit whatsoever, summoning and binding a djinn.
I'm Justin, playing Lance Monroe, who is extremely terrified at this point. And
Just terrified at the fact he's about to bind a djinn.
No, he's seen what happens to those people, so yeah. Just hopefully he'll maintain sanity through this and not turn into some ancient pharaoh and kill everyone in the room.
You're already on your way.
Dude, I already got plans if ever I get to play the pharaoh again.
I'm John, playing James Whitmire, and also Dr. Edward Call. And I think his medical degree will probably help him through this situation, but James Whitmire definitely could use a djinn right now.
And a medical degree.
Yeah, a gin and tonic, not...
All right, so let's see if we can cap up Whitmire's story for this season. So, Whitmire, you come back to reality in the warehouse where you sent Lonnie on to get his glory. Of course, his body's since been dumped in the Mystic River, perhaps. You're not sure what your guys did with it, but anyhow, you come to Ronnie's kneeling next to you with a worried expression creasing the features of his face. Just to remind you, you're indefinitely insane and prone to delusions, and any further sanity loss will send you into a new bout of madness. This state cannot be fixed during the course of the scenario. This is something that gets corrected during the investigator development phase. That said, it can be tamped down a little bit by people with high psychoanalysis. But anyhow, but for now, you feel a shred of control, but beneath that veneer of willpower, you can feel tension and intrusive thoughts.
Is it maybe a slight mania or manic type?
You know, they're threatening to crash over this hold you have on reality. You even feel like sometimes if you look into a dark corner, you'll see that figure that you've been catching in reflections every now and then, although it terrifies you to consider this because to look in that corner would not to be to look into a reflection, so you would no longer be in the mirror world, but in your world. So maybe you just don't look in that corner. But anyhow, Ronnie says, sorry, boss, but I had to get a little rough with you at the basement. You started shooting up the place. Well, shooting it up more. So what do you do, Jimmy?
Well, I'll play the face, right? And so I'll give him a smile and say, never do any wrong by me, Ronnie. And give him a pat on the shoulder, try to recall what happened. As I know that we were going to Drew's place to get some answers, as I remember being in Drew's place. And, things going, I wouldn't say wrong, but definitely
A lot of hands.
a little bit different than I had imagined that they
Maybe
would
it's a
go.
horseshoe. Things can go so right that they go wrong.
Yeah. But
Yeah, so you, here's what you remember. You saw the figure, which you know from your copy of Nameless Cults was referred to as the Black Man, and you started shooting at that figure, and then at some point everything went black, and then by the throbbing you feel at the back of your head, you figure that's when Ronnie might have got a little rough with you, as he just apologized for.
yeah.
And brought you here.
So, it's, yeah, it's back to business, honestly, as I can sort out why he had to put me down like he did, and don't hold no grudge against him. But I ask him where are the boys at.
Yeah, well, you're making some of them nervous. They're hanging out right now. They're still around, but hey, we got a problem. Apparently some of our stashes back in New York were robbed. At least that's what the word I got is. Maybe they saw we weren't, there mining the farm. And you're kind of thinking, there's a thought in your head where you were leaving New York and you'd presume they were following Detective Glover, but, you have some perhaps true or untrue memories as you're replaying that in your mind of, being tailed out of New York, and you're kind of wondering if you got it right the first time. You don't know for sure. Why don't we get back there, boss? You lay low, then we can sort what happened out after.
Yeah, we've got to plan for Malone. As also in the meantime, we could start taking over some of Drew's spots over here, as that way we don't lose any income from the slide up in New York. But definitely need to find out who that is and make them pay for it. As I think that's a good idea. As why don't you and the boys head back up to New York and start digging into who hit us, and we'll figure out retaliation after.
Okay. What are you going to do, boss?
As I'll
You going to be okay?
yeah,
You're still not looking 100%.
side eye that corner and tell them that I think I'm gonna get out of town for a few days. Go out to the countryside. There's this little town, Ross's Corner. As I'll be out there if you need me.
All right, boss. Well, you take care of yourself. I'll let you know if I find anything out while you're away.
Is Jimmy Whitmire shooting up Ross's Corner? Is that the gunshots we're hearing?
What to play and find out.
And I'll thank Ronnie and tell him to make sure the boys all get taken care of, and and you too. But let me know what's going on out there, and I'll stand up a little shakily and pat his shoulder and start searching around for my car keys.
Yeah, you can find those easily enough. And as you're looking at the warehouse, you can see they have some higher windows, and you see the first part of daylight starting to peek through the windows. And this is the same day of the morning where these guys down in Ross's Corners would have gone out to interview some of the other farmers. So by your estimation, your knowledge of navigation and whatnot, you should be able to make it to Ross's Corner without too much of a problem if you leave now.
Yeah, I'll head out and head over to Ross's Corner to lay low.
Okay. So you head out onto the roads, which very quickly become, country roads as you're making your way to Ross's Corner. And, I don't think you had mirrors in cars at the time, like rear view mirrors or side mirrors or anything like that. So you're kind of safe from those sort of reflections. But just being in a vehicle that has, glass windshields and whatnot, you do catch, obscured reflections as you're driving around, and you do see the black man in those reflections. But like I said, he's obscured. He'll be stretched by the way the glass is. And you get this impression that he's just shaking his head at you very slowly. Like you don't pick out features, but his head just shakes. No, Whitmire. No. However, you are in an interesting state here. because you actually can't. The bonus of losing the maximum sanity for seeing this figure is that you actually can't lose any more sanity.
That's good.
So it's just about whether or not you believe that figure is really there or not. So you can give me a sanity roll, and on a success, you will disbelieve it as just some figment. But if you don't, then you have to act as though this figure is actually there. In whichever way you want to roleplay that.
Can you use luck on a sanity roll?
No, nor can you push a sanity roll.
All right. Well, I failed that one.
Can I use sanity on a luck roll?
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, so I'm not saying, what it appears that this figure is objecting to. That is entirely in your wheelhouse. But we will fade on you for a moment and just assume you continue on to Ross's corner.
No, he's
'cause
expressing
you're not
his
insane, right?
disappointment that I didn't go kill Malone. So
Yeah.
that's gotta happen now.
Since you're in a sane moment, like you don't have to really think that way if Whitmire wouldn't think that way. But you just have this, maybe he's unhappy he wanted that because that's the stuff he liked. That doesn't necessarily mean you like it or have to go along with whatever it is. But it's nonverbal, so you don't even know to what he's objecting. Maybe the fact that you're kind of like, let's paint an analogy, sometimes, the military might drop aid and it'd come down in a little parachute. But let's say if you didn't know it was aid or a bomb, that's what Jimmy Whitmire could be like as he comes to help his friends at to deal with this djinn, the insane Jimmy Whitmire. Is he going to be help or is he going to be a bomb? I don't know. I'm just giving you some things to play with, but we'll leave you there for a moment.
I can tell you he's definitely going to be a wreck by the time he gets there.
Oh man, for some reason I just got the mental image of Jack Glover and Jimmy Whitmire getting in the body count contest from Legolas and Gimli, because I got 3 under my belt right now.
Who knows how many Whitmire has? They were off screen for the most part.
Depending on how insane he is, I'm going to try to pin all those murders in the station.
Well, I guess we'll hang with you for a little bit longer, Whitmire, while Justin resolves an issue here. Okay, so this can be an opportunity for you, so yeah, this figure's shaking their head at you. Like, what's Whitmire doing as he's driving on these country roads? It's a bright, sunny day. It's a bright, sunny August day. So everything else is in relief to this black figure, who you only see in reflection and is sort of stretched in oblong. It's when the sun catches the windshield in a particular way where you see him like the reflection, like he would be sitting in the passenger seat. Of course, when you look at the passenger seat, that's not the case. There's nobody there.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious what I would start doing. I'm gonna start talking at him like he's there. Okay. Telling him that and it's more like you thought you could get me type thing, right? But old Jimmy's a little too slick for you, and that will start to roll into what he's going to do to Malone, and then I would say pretty quickly it'll move into his regret of killing Drew. And but not in a way of like, what have I done? Like, why did you make me do it more? Right. Type of regret. And then shift back to when the next reflection hits. Yeah, exactly. You ain't got me this time. You ain't gonna get me in the future, right? And that'll be just a loop all the way there.
Yeah, when you're talking about, the killings or the prospect of killings you'll get, because like I said, he's so black that you cannot distinguish facial features, but what occurs, the sense that you get that he's smiling about something, is it's almost like you have the after image of a bright light burnt into your vision, but it's in a smile shape over the face of this dark figure. When you're talking about you having not been caught by him yet, he's just shaking his head. No, Jimmy. No. I got you right where I want you. That sort of thing. But, all right. So we'll pop over to the farmhouse where the rest of our investigators are going about getting it prepared for what is to come. So you guys have been going around and scratching all these warding symbols around the house and inside the house where you thought it was appropriate. For example, Dr. Andrews had noted the fireplace as being an entry point into here that likely would need to be warded. So you've got that all taken care of. And you had just heard some gunshots distantly to the west, and that's where we left off.
Probably just some hunters. Nothing for us to be concerned about.
It's happened in previous scenarios. The thing to be concerned about is if they accidentally start shooting at you.
Yeah. Well, that and what we're doing is going to be effective, then it'll help whatever's going on over in that direction anyway, or
Right.
should.
Yeah.
Oh, Whitmire, would you put a luck roll out there?
I was thinking that we should have scrawled these warding symbols on some houses
missed
and
that one, too.
storefronts.
Yeah, although we didn't really know which symbol we needed to carve until we got here and saw
Well,
them.
yeah. Also, like, we were kind of in a bit of a hurry. It's probably better that we just got to work.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're not rolling too hot today, John. I'm worried.
Get it together.
It's just getting the bad ones out of the
if he's
way.
rolling bad, that means I'm going to be rolling hundreds.
Is it?
That's If Macaulay's luck is bad, everyone's is bad.
Okay, so there are a couple of problems. Well, first I should say that short series of gunshots ends and then all is quiet.
What caliber did it sound like?
Give me
No, I
an
don't. I'm just-
extreme...
yeah.
Well,
Could
what
our
do you
gun
think?
knowledge
Maybe-
work?
Yeah, I guess probably a regular success might figure that out.
Not even close.
You don't think so? You couldn't tell what somebody was shooting?
No.
So you think extreme maybe? Or hard?
Like actual caliber, probably not. You could probably tell small or big.
Yeah.
You know, like hunting rifle versus pistol.
Well, if you want to. Just
I
an
don't.
extreme...
I was just playing.
Well, that's the kind of things detectives would notice in stories.
Yeah, but I'm just a doctor.
Doctor, detective, private
I would
detective.
detect what caliber did the damage to a
Right.
body, not what
By
it
sound.
sounded like.
By sound. Well, there are a couple of things that can be done as far as the preparation goes. Obviously, the great pentagram can be drawn on the floor.
Yeah.
Also, you have to determine what you're going to chant from amongst the chants that are in the De Vermis Mysterious.
Well,
I figured I'd be Watcher, right? Is that what I'm going to get designated as? So I don't got to chant?
I don't know.
He's got a deep baritone voice,
Yeah.
so he should do all the chanting, I think.
Well, the person that's going to be the Watcher may need to protect us from other spirits as well, so...
But it doesn't really specify how, right? I thought...
Well, yeah, it doesn't... Yeah, I guess it didn't really specify. Just,
Well, as you guys had
But
pointed out in the last
dagger and
session, is that Meriwether's circumstance was different as they were trying to commune with the bound one.
yeah.
And so it was locked away somewhere. And he didn't really mention what he did as a watcher other than observe and be able to write as it was going on.
Yeah, so that's what I was more hoping for, is that I'm able to keep an eye out without actually having to attempt any sort of POW rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what chant are we going to do?
Well, what time is it in the afternoon?
So I think you guys were coming pretty close to dinner time right now.
Okay. We never got a chance to actually investigate the attic, did we? Because the thing lunged at
Yeah,
you.
we didn't go up there.
It's not warded up there.
Maybe
yeah,
we should.
Well, you re-scratched the ward on the
on the
attic door, the
attic
trap door.
Wow.
and yeah, I will mention that I had sensed it leave in the direction of Ross's corner.
Yeah, and
so
I saw the trees.
And we
which
got
I explained.
gunshots.
Yeah.
So my question would be, how much time has passed since it left? Because if it's been a while, I would suggest that we don't go up there. It could be back based on how fast it travels.
Well, just long
But if
enough.
it just happened, then yeah.
Well, he left within the hour because it was when you were outside scratching cymbals, and I think I described hearing the gunshots while you were still doing that. So it had left some time before the gunshots, and as far as you know, has not yet come back.
Okay. And the first thing that we do when we go up there is we could try scratching those cymbals on any entrance
In the attic.
Like if there's a window or something like that up there, we can try scratching that to ward us while we search. But
Yeah.
there might be something up there that Meriwether and them had used as part of their preparation that we could help determine what we need to chant or
All right.
anything like that. But yeah, I'd say thoroughly search the house, every nook and cranny, to try and get anything we can find.
All right. I'll move the chair back over there. I'll head up first, and I'll pull one of you guys up.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
All right. So I'll pull myself up. Or is it a ladder that you could get to? I forget.
There was a ladder in the basement, yeah. I think the chair works fine for any of you guys.
Okay. So yeah, I'll get up there, and then I'll help whoever wants to come up next.
Yeah, so now that there's not an invisible entity in here attacking you, it's just an attic space. It's not even the same size as the below ground space, both in its length and how tall it is. And you can see
Does it even have floor?
Yeah, it has a floor, but it's very sharply steepled right away. So you'll have to be crouching around, and you can see at the end of it had like a wooden slatted opening for ventilation that had been broken out. And as you're casting about up there after you pull up, who is it going to be, Dr. Andrews?
Yeah.
You guys are looking about up there, aside from the things that were stored in the attic, which are really not worth description. There are a number of dead birds up here, and if you just cast your glance at one, you see the same MO as you have seen for the humans and the animals that were killed. So just tiny birds that had nested up here.
Looks like this
Their
is where
hearts
it's got to
removed.
start.
Yeah. We should cover up that opening.
At the very least, put one of them symbols that Monroe's been doodling.
Yeah, so is there any loose wood I could use to nail up there to cover it?
Yeah, definitely. There's stuff hanging about that you could make.
So I've been wondering, we're going to summon this thing to us, right? How's it going to get in if all the wards are up?
Yeah, I thought that myself just now, and
I don't know all this wackadoo stuff that you guys been going on about.
I don't know.
Well, you could give a mythos roll. Anybody who has it could. Dr. Andrews, because of your unique history and your conversations with Charlie Murphy, you
Oh, he can science this?
you could think.
Oh,
Nice.
whoa!
That's a critical
I never
success.
thought I'd see that happen.
Okay.
I got a critical success on a Cthulhu Mythos.
That's awesome.
So, what you know, Monroe, is the issue is how humans would think about locking a door or securing something, as you would think about locking it in 3 dimensions, right? And the problem with entities such as this is that they would come from different phases. So really, you're not warding the window from the outside, you're warding the space from a different space that runs adjacent or parallel or perpendicular, or however it lies on top of reality as you guys see it. This is actually drawn from your grandfather's mad ramblings.
Well, okay, that makes sense.
Are you in the attic with us?
No, I'd probably be down.
Listening?
This was about how the
yeah.
wards work, so anybody
Yeah,
could
okay.
have this knowledge at any time.
I'll just see if I understand what the heck.
But
that
you
could
guys
even
would
mean.
be thinking more of you're locking the door from
Yeah,
the
and
outside.
a solid object
Yeah.
can't pass through another solid
Right.
object, but we're not passing through a solid object. We're phasing from one reality into another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like Charlie Murphy in some of these discussions about the dimensional shambler, the entity that you encountered previously. He said a thought experiment he kind of gave you was like, if you look at a 2-dimensional picture of a flower in a field, you can imagine the 3rd dimension around it because you have experienced it. But when you get to higher dimensions, you can't imagine what else is in that picture because you don't have the framework, right? But they're there nonetheless was, he said according to what he had read.
So Andrews and me, we've glimpsed into
Right, yeah. So you guys have an idea that there is something threading running alongside, crashing into, that's unseen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would that be? Education or intelligence to attempt to grasp? I think if it's the scientific one.
Education is more like what you know.
Okay.
Right? But it also does give you the foundation of concepts that might allow you to grasp it. So I'd say either one, whichever you prefer, EDU or intelligence.
Barely. So, yeah, I'll be kind of puffing on my cigar, scratching my mop of hair.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at a picture of a flower on a field,
Okay.
you could imagine it in 3 dimensions because you've seen that before.
You know, I understand the words you're saying.
Yeah.
You're speaking English, but
The bottom line is it'll be fine.
I think you could probably even imagine it in 5 dimensions, right?
I don't see how, since I can't do that.
Well, I think like if you look at something in a mirror, you're seeing what the 4th dimension effect would have on us, right?
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about something across time, so you're thinking of like a flower budding and then dying, then you got the 5th dimension, but beyond that,
Yeah.
that's where we get a little trickier.
I'm just gonna
It comes in
leave the heavy lifting to you and Monroe.
a different time.
Okay. Like I kind of understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
This is where you also need Whitmire there to do the same thing that Monroe just did and
it's like 3-card money. See,
crit a science physics roll off of an untrained skill.
To be honest, Detective,
That's how you do it.
I don't have all that much faith that we'll even be successful. I just know that a lot of people are dying and we've got to do something to stop it. And if I had more time to think about it, I might come to the realization that I'm not really the man to be doing this. But I don't, so.
aside from that last little bit, I agree with you. Something needs to be done. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be here. You guys have upset my way of life greatly.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'll say that. Remember, unalloyed metal.
All my bullets are lead.
And as far as what chant to pick, you have no choice but to go to the De Vermis Mysterious. Of course, you brought both copies, so I assume you will look in the uncursed version.
The uncursed version got a guy
Yeah.
with his head hollowed out.
Yeah, I'm a little more concerned about the way that we found that dude. Like that's always been in the back of my head with this book. Is it something he did went wrong?
Well, you can't get a full list of its, say, spells that are in there, but you have hints from the reading that you've done across to try to figure out the nature of the djinn. And another thing you could think of is that perhaps he toyed with something incorrectly.
Yeah.
Tried some sort of summoning and just didn't ward properly or whatever.
You know, like what we were about to do.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Well, it also like the manner of his death didn't quite match the manner
Brain.
of death
Right.
that this happened. So yeah, he may have been working with a different entity altogether or something else.
Different gin type.
Yeah, something along those lines.
But you had roughly 24 sections noted in both copies because Dr. Andrews had done a comparative analysis to find differences. And there were, like 24 chants. So now I don't have 24 for you to look through and make a selection. There is just going to be one that draws your eye as being relevant because it references, let me show it to you, assuming that you're ready to look.
Yeah, I'll
Uncursed or cursed?
we brought both of them, so
Yes.
I'll be looking at both of them and looking at those where those differences are and
Okay.
where they're similar.
All right. So here it is in the Latin.
oh, that's why I can't read it.
Now, you guys have already done many Latin rolls to do translation, so I'll just give you how it reads when it's translated. 1 sec. Okay. So I updated it in the description underneath, so it's in English. It is roughly translated as, O spirits, you I exercise by the power, wisdom, and virtue, by the divine knowledge, by the dark void, by the name of the old ones, the root, trunk, source, and origin of all the other divine names, whence they all draw their life and their power. I exercise you by the name Nyarlathotep, signifying the most excellent bringer of wisdom. His majesty so high and brighter than the stars of the void. I exercise you by the most powerful name of Azathoth, the all-powerful, who shall punish the crimes. I exercise you, and I command you absolutely, O demon, in whatsoever part of the universe you may be, by the virtue of all these names, hear you and obey.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Yeah.
So the reason it caught your eye is because of the name Nyarlathotep, which has been bound up in this story as it's unraveled it for you. And the other ones,
Well, we recognize the name Azathoth, right?
well, you as players might, but I don't know that I've ever introduced it in a handout, but I might have. If you guys remember one, then you would.
I think, wasn't he one of the deities in the realm of sleep at that temple?
Yeah,
No, I don't believe so.
No?
But
Anyway, yeah.
yeah, so the other ones will reference, in some cases, names of figures you know from occult knowledge or historical knowledge, such as like Woden, the Germanic analog to Odin, or some that you haven't heard of. Either they're from Indian origin or elsewhere. But that's the only one that draws on the name Nyarlathotep, and as far as you can tell, in comparing the two, those ones are identical from each particular writing.
Yeah, this looks like one to bind it. Were there any chance on drawing it to us? Because didn't we have to first draw it to the circle to get it trapped, and then you would bind it in some way, shape, or form?
Well, apparently they did the chanting, although you don't know what they chanted for a long time, and then after a certain amount of time it appeared there.
Okay.
Well,
So this might be kind of like the same thing as the wards, where your physical time and place that you do this does not so much matter. That wherever it is, it's going to draw it where it needs to be. Would be the idea.
yeah,
Okay.
Shadowrun knowledge would say that beginning to bind it, if you know what it is, that the act of beginning the ritual would also draw it,
Yeah.
either in a defensive measure or by the casting of the spell type of thing.
Johann Mueller would know too that. I suppose you would know this, Monroe. You did the counter ritual. That dealing with at least the dimensional shambler is a two-part thing. There's a call it to you, and then the binding it to either its command or whatever you want it to do. And a very devious keeper would just give the call spell to the players, not the bind one. So here's your dimensional shambler.
Yeah.
So yeah, that has been your experience in the reversal of Johann Mueller's calling of the dimensional shambler. That one calls it, or that the same act calls it as binds it. So
Okay.
and if your goal is to get it entrapped in the amber as it was originally found, then that would be basically the command given to it.
So kind of like the first part of it is what draws it out, and then the final part
Yeah,
is what that locks it in place.
like the reason I think of that is because like in Shadowrun, for say binding a truce or a free spirit, which this would be, you know its name and you begin to call its name, and the act of that makes the spirit want to kill you immediately. So
Yeah, let's hope we get the one we're looking for.
So we had Dr. Call here. What was he doing?
He was down helping with the, scratching
The
in
symbols.
the wards. Otherwise, he's just staying out of your guys' way.
yeah, I think you jokingly sent him to collect the fine powder that was spilled on the ground
Oh yeah,
in
that's
the
right. That's
basement.
what he was
Yeah,
doing.
I
forgot.
did.
I got quite a bit of it too.
So he's probably still down there doing that. Yeah, because you did a pretty good roll for doing that well.
Yeah, and I think that that powder is what will make the djinn visible. It's called the dust of something or other.
Which we also have the incense that's supposed to do the same thing, right?
Well, no, the incense, if you'll remember from your research, was to blunt the cunning of the djinn.
Okay. So it basically gets it stoned.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
And so another big project, though, is the pentagram. Will take you a little while to get right.
Yeah, after making the rounds while they're up in the attic, I'll start working on that.
I guess I'll stay on lookout while they do the pentagram. Keep looking out the window, seeing if I'm noticing any weird breezes, if you know what I mean,
Right.
like in the treetops.
Okay, so to do the pentagram, we will need an occult or art drawing skill roll, just at the regular level,
Okay.
to ensure you make it correctly. Well done.
I'm focused right now.
Also, who all had a flashlight? Did everybody have one?
Yeah, I think Cole got lucky on his roll, so yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just supposed to stand around and look at nothing while you guys are doing this? Is that what I'm getting here? Just shine my light around?
Keeping an eye out for anything else we might need to worry about.
So is it also going to be invisible?
Hopefully not.
Well, yes, and there's going to be apparently some other spirits will try to interrupt us.
And I want to stand outside the warding pentagram.
Yes, none of us should be inside the pentagram, right?
Doesn't that seem kind of counterintuitive? If you're going to put something that protects...
Well,
isn't that
you
where
have
the
to
lamb
make a
is?
decision, because that's where you have disagreement between the two copies. Whether you're outside or just outside of the innermost of it, right? Because if you look at it, once you have it on the ground, you have your 5-pointed star there. And, I mean, intuitively, when you look at it, you kind of see at each point, somebody could stand. Like one of the chanters might stand, and that the inner part of the star would be the most protected space. But they're in disagreement, so...
Trying to remember what see if I can find it. The diary mentions from handout 2 or 3.
I think it was 3.
Was it 3?
I say if this goes sideways,
2,
guys,
sorry.
we just leave the book, the cursed one here, and try to let the djinn deal with that. I think it could keep them occupied.
Yeah, let's see.
So according to his writing, Meriwether's writing, the others sat in a circle while the Watcher was in the corner of the room, but unfortunately it doesn't look like he illuminates whether that was inside the pentagram or outside the pentagram. But you do know from reading the De Vermis Mysterious, it did seem to be that people who were chanting could leave the circle to use the bathroom or get a drink of water or something like that. Right, it didn't break the chanting.
Seems very dangerous to leave a house with no plumbing to go use an outhouse in the middle of summoning an entity.
Especially if you've bound everything from the outside getting in, yeah.
Okay, so it was when... Okay, this was the part that I was kind of stuck on. It was Robert rose to his feet and before anyone could stop him, stepped forward as though to embrace it, and then his head was...
Oh, he actually
twisted
entered
around.
the inner...
Yeah, and so I was trying to remember whether or not it mentioned him having to step into the pentagram or anything, but it doesn't really give enough clarification.
Yeah, like the one says, so long as the circle be correct and none enter the innermost, then the entity shall not harm them directly. And the cursed one says, so long as the circle be correct and none enter, then the entity shall not harm the being directly. And so Robert stepped forward. It says he stepped forward into the circle.
It says he rose to his feet and stepped forward as though to embrace our horrible guest, and that's all it says. It doesn't say whether he, like, what threshold he had crossed, whether it was the outer part of the circle.
Well, let's look at the pentagram then. Keeper, is it large enough for people to sit in the outer portion of it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. That's why I said Monroe intuitively had this idea that the people who were doing the chanting could either stand or sit at each point of the star, right? There'd be enough space to sit down. Because, like, if you do...
Is there something about, like, what separates the outer from the inner when we look at it? Is there some clear circle in the center of it?
So there's not a circle in the center, but there is... The way the star is drawn when he's got the pentagram, there is a enclosed center area, but it's more, like, I don't know what shape that would be.
Yeah,
1, 2,
some
3,
sort
4,
of
5.
parallelogram.
Yeah.
I'm going to go bring the lamb inside.
Okay.
I think Glover, like, if Glover was a criminal, he would dispose of stuff that would lead to him being arrested. And that right now would be something used for a blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
Potentially coming back from town.
Right.
Well, what do you think, Monroe? That we should remain outside altogether of the star? Or should we stand?
I don't suppose the fact that I got a hard success on my occult would lend weight towards one or the other?
Yes, it does lend weight to standing at the points of the star.
Okay. Then that will be my
Because even though you don't understand what all the symbols mean on the outside, going with this theory that this is coming from phases that you can't see, that you would need protection in like many different angles.
Okay.
Right, because other spirits might also try to interrupt us. Now, Monroe, what does your occult knowledge tell you about the fact that there's only going to be 3 of us on a star point and 1 outside watcher when there's 5 points to the star?
Let's see. How many did they have when Meriwether tried this? They had
Yeah, I think
5
at that
total?
same handout, you'll see it scratched out all the names. 6 total, including himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the Watcher was probably on a point too. It's just that he...
Is this a 6-pointed star?
No, it's 5.
Okay.
So yes, they did have enough people to have a chanter at each point of the star.
Well, I don't know where we would go find 2 to 3 more people. Yeah, 2 more people.
Yeah, especially people that won't run the second things start getting weird.
Well, it's possible you could have a pentagram with more points to include more people to chant. It's about how the protection is, focused around each chanter.
Yeah.
This was just the one you had access to, because you're taking it on faith that the symbols, since you don't know what they mean, that are around the outside, will do something to protect you or to draw the entity here.
Yeah, I think we kind of have to just go with what we've got.
Okay.
All
And
right.
I'm not going to get you guys on some obscure technicality that I didn't forecast in some way. Be like, oh, you didn't. That was the wrong pentagram. And you're like, that's the only one we had access
That's
to.
exactly
No, you
what
missed
you
the
would
skill
do.
roll at session 3.
I guess I'm going to go bring the lamb in here. I'm kind of getting... It's important to this, right?
Yes.
Well, if I was on the verge of being arrested by you lot, I would ensure that something important goes missing real quick, and we don't know where that thing is right now. So shouldn't it be warded with us inside here?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, but, we can't start till midnight, so if it makes a mess on the floor, you're going to have to clean it
I'm
up.
going to be very honest. I'm not leaving the wards again for anything, so I'm going to be making water over in that corner over there, and you guys are just going to have to look away. Keep an eye on the windows, folks, just in case. Give a shout if you see them moving. I'll go get the lamb.
Okay.
I'll be kind of nervous about it. I don't think I'll draw my gun, but
Yeah.
I also don't think I've put it away since we've gotten here.
Yeah, well, summer getting close to sunset, or those hours that encompass the sun being low on the horizon, can sometimes hit you in an odd way. They can just remind you of a lazy summer day, or they can terrify you.
Is there a loose board somewhere that's knocking around like a pendulum on a clock?
Yeah.
Dang
there is,
it.
actually.
Yeah, wasn't there like an old porch swing or something like that?
Yeah,
Guys,
that one was broken. It wasn't hanging up at all anymore. But
It's the only thing making noise, isn't it?
like one small piece of it still kind of rocks with that squeaky chain.
yeah, so it is that getting the pentagram right, because you do find that you have to stop and redraw areas. And there's a weird thing that occurs where, like, you think you got the symbols right on that side by the northern, the northern facing point, but when you come back around to it to double check your work, it seems like the symbols have drifted around a little bit without your notice. At least you were fairly certain you drew that one that is aligned with the 2 circles on an end right next to the point, but now it seems to be on the other side. So, but you never see anything happen. But anyhow, it does take a while for it to solidify and seem to stop moving when you look away from it. This is really only something you notice as the...
That could explain why you get your head hollowed out. You
Yeah.
didn't recheck your work.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is about the time that Whitmire will arrive. But Whitmire, you came into Ross's corner in the, just after you might normally sit down to eat dinner, and you still have a little bit of a stretch before you get to the farmhouse. But the town is quiet, and with the sun starting to set, it becomes more and more uncomfortable to be in the car with this figure. So, you're really hoping to reach the farmhouse soon. But unless you plan to make any stops, you will shortly. So what did you want to do? Any stops in town or just head to the farmhouse?
Yeah, I'll stop at that little, what was it, the little store that we were at before.
Yeah.
Because I just need to run some water over my face, kind of make myself a little more presentable. Because I knew that they were coming out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Ma Peters.
So
I think actually you do get a telegram from Monroe at some point when you came to, before you left. If you, where did you send that telegram? You tried to get in touch with him when you were in.
Yeah.
I think yours came to, maybe they went to Monroe's museum since you stay there so much. Maybe you didn't get it. It doesn't matter. But the plan had been to go out here. You just got diverted from joining them because of what had happened.
Yeah, he probably has some location where we send him, where he checks him every once in a while, because he does kind of disappear.
Well, it's like probably under like different names or something, or it's like, hey, Aunt Susan or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
But the general store has like a spigot and like a pump. What do you call that?
That's a pump.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right outside, a little hand pump for drawing water. Or you can go inside. You see the lights burning inside.
Yeah, I don't need to go inside. This is all I'll just stop at the pump and splash some on my face. Kind of run my fingers through my hair to try and sort out any hairs like sticking out of place. Straighten the jacket, tuck my shirt back in, those type of things. And then and overall it shouldn't be more than just like a couple minutes, but
right.
Then I'll take off towards the house again.
Okay. Yeah, well, the freshening up does make you feel better. Whether it makes you look less unhinged
Just
is
made
for
his
others to judge.
Hair wilder and crazier.
But it does refresh you. I mean, you felt better the further away you've gotten from this morning. The headache from taking a knock to the head has gone away, although it's still tender to the touch as you splash water in your hair. But you get back on the road and head out of town, where after a little while you see that burnt tree that had been struck by lightning years ago and the gravel path that leads up to the farmhouse. And you see through the trees the light from, the flashlights inside as you're coming down the path there. And then all you guys would hear the crunching of tires on gravel.
Wonder if that sheriff decided to show up.
Yeah, I guess I'll look out the window and have my shotgun ready.
I think you guys would recognize Whitmire's car. You've ridden in it enough.
It sounds like Whitmire's car.
No, you would see it. I mean,
And it looks like one
not
too.
your,
ridden in it
not your
enough.
super hearing.
I could tell he's unshot by how the car's running.
So yeah, Whitmire, when you come down that path, you can see they have another vehicle that they had turned around. They're kind of backed up to the house.
Whitmire recognizes what that's about.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, I'll pull around. What would be like around on the left right before the house, and kind of use that and face my car the same way.
Okay.
And grab my torch, electric torch from the boot.
Electric torch for Jimmy as well.
I'll head inside as long as it's unlocked.
Let's give a quick check out the windows.
You guys want to look out the windows at him, or?
I do for sure.
Yeah.
Before he opens and breaches that ward.
Right.
I don't know if Jack has enough wherewithal, but he kind of grasped the concept, I guess,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Well,
But if I was a very fast, invisible thing that couldn't get inside to kill the people about to get at me,
right.
I would wait for someone to open something.
Yeah. Some of those wards you scratched in the place where the old one was, and in those cases they were just sort of on the frame and not on the door itself. But yeah, he's out there, gathering things from his trunk when you look out at first, right? And you're kind of obscured a little bit just because the glass that's in its place, the window you're looking at, is pretty dirty, but you're kind of looking at where one of the frames has been, knocked out.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, he might see you. He's usually pretty perceptive. So,
So I guess that fits with Jack's character because he doesn't understand this, so he wouldn't understand that the wards on the frame will work. He's still thinking physically. So yeah, I'll be keeping an eye out, making sure that the djinn isn't around as best as I can.
Yeah, he does not seem to be being followed. You can put out a psychology for me as you're looking at him go around the car
give it
there.
A try. No, Jimmy's Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's looking like he's a sneak thief already. So
Always looks a little bit froggy.
yeah, he's probably gonna try to steal the goat.
So yeah, these doors do have working locks. The locks are newer than the doors, you would say, in your estimation, although still very old. So whether they're locked or not was up to your guys' preference. Otherwise, Jimmy can just walk in. You'll probably walk in anyways. You just hear the lock picking sound as he comes close to it.
Yeah, it's like the Morrowind games where time freezes while you pick the lock and then unfreezes.
Right.
Yeah.
Decide to show up, Jimmy?
I mean, if it's unlocked, then I'll walk in and look around and try my winning smile. Say,
the rest of
appreciate
you.
you.
Psychology rules.
Appreciate you guys, guessing the place up for me. As we got new paintings and everything, and I'll point at the pentagram.
Pentagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys drew the pentagram with the whitewash, I think, or did you do it a different way?
I guess if
Unless it was specified that it needed to be drawn in something specific, then yeah. Yeah, it would have been the whitewash.
dude, we got bum blood.
We do have bum blood. He's still alive down there, isn't he?
Well,
Like,
I
he's
guess
slowly
I
dying.
guess we have to make it correct
Probably
with
dead
how
by now.
we've described it so far, and that you made corrections,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Or we could change it a little bit in the
It'd
memory.
probably chalk at first.
So you were doing like a semi-permanent
Yeah.
version of it before you came in
before.
with the whitewash. Yeah, that'll work. Okay.
That's also probably the better idea when it comes to any sort of odd symbology that you actually don't know the meaning of. Yeah.
But yeah, we can totally use human blood since that bum's going to die no matter what.
I think that's a little macabre. We should
kill this lamb and use its blood.
It's regrettable that Glover had to kill the poor sot, but we probably shouldn't.
So Monroe,
He had a family, Monroe,
you
somewhere.
you recognize
So does
that
the lamb.
Whitmire does not look well, not in a physically sick way, but then maybe that's the pot calling the kettle black as you've had your fair share of
I recognize the
unhinged
madness. Madness recognizes madness.
You're
Same
like
with you,
me.
Doctor. You see that as well. It's actually a look you've come to recognize in your companions over these last few months. But Jimmy has it in his eyes as he enters the establishment, trying to downplay it with his usual charm. But the hour draws near. So is there any other preparation you guys want to make before we zoom to midnight and begin the chanting?
I'll ask
Usually
for a
feels like moment
rundown.
where we're going to do something wrong.
I'll ask for a rundown of what exactly we need to do because
Read this,
I'm
Jimmy.
not sure.
So yeah,
I'm assuming you probably wanted to make an English translation and copies of it for people to read from when they're chanting. Unless you think you can all do it from memory.
I suppose making copies of it, yes, but not knowing if it needs to be in Latin.
Latin or not, yeah.
Yeah, probably go over it.
That's no problem for most of it. I'm not sure how well Whitmire will do it translating or getting the pronunciation correct, right?
Well, I guess that's what we could be doing is kind of practicing.
Doing it right?
Practicing
so you want to
the
stick with the Latin? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a...
Even maybe write it out phonetically for
Right. That's the smart way to do it. But if ever I have to write those in there, that's how I have the phonetic breakdown below it. Okay. So the hour is almost there. There is one little detail that you noticed, Dr. Andrews, and that is that Mr. Monroe's lines have been blackened.
Oh, his like time threads or whatever,
Yeah.
his luck threads.
Oh, Monroe's? Have I ever seen that before?
Well, dimmed, right? Maybe I used the wrong term.
Ah,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
because of the curse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been handling the books. So
Yes.
I was about to become really, really worried.
Yeah, I guess blackened was that would be extreme, right? Perhaps in time if he keeps handling the books. But yeah. So anyhow,
Well, like I was jumping to like, because we've got the symbol out and the symbol seems to be kind of shifting, that maybe we've already put one foot.
no, there is something to notice about walking from in the symbol and out of the symbol from your perspective, Dr. Andrews, and that's that the lines almost like there's refraction, like if you stick a pencil in a cup of water from being inside and outside, and it's not the relationship as you see the lines traveling away from the person, but when the person crosses from inside to outside of the circle, there'll be like a slight refraction for how those lines travel upward when they're inside of the circle.
So we've made a thinny.
Yeah, kind of denote that it's in some way drawing a different phase of existence into this world. But the chant may now commence, which, according to your understanding, you may begin to burn the incense powder. Do you have a censer, or do you just want to do it in the fireplace
I imagine we probably
or in
brought
the
a
stove?
sensor.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably got like a bunch of like actual like bronze or brass
Yeah.
ones laying around.
I do want to sneak downstairs and get some of the bum's blood. If possible, to do it discreetly. Well, okay, I'll try and do it discreetly, but if it happens, then...
You're willing to deal with the
yeah,
fallout.
Yeah, if I get caught, then yeah, I'm willing to deal with the fallout.
He just starts screaming as you like put your hand around his leg to force blood out of the artery. Shut up, you old bum.
Well, I may not even need to force. I may just need to loosen the tourniquet a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose technically that's what the first aid treatment was for something like that, is to tourniquet limb. And so you just have this ooze of blood, like a trickle of it. But yeah, you can gather some of it if you'd like.
Yeah.
By this point, leg's probably looking pretty bad too. We've cut off circulation to that limb for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll put the sensor here. Now, you notice a problem in lighting up the incense is that the glun fluid does not like to be burned, right? Or it burns unevenly. Maybe that's a flaw in how, or the time in which you guys had to make it. But you do notice that it will be needing to be tended to here and there throughout the ceremony.
Okay.
So if that's something you want to do, you can keep the sensor near you, or if it's something you feel the watcher might be best to take care of, you can do that.
Yeah.
That is something I can do.
Yeah, I'll kind of pass that duty on to the good detective.
All right, well, I'll just leave it over here on this table for now.
We should just laced my cigar with it.
Just start puffing it up.
I believe like tobacco was an incense of sorts and various other.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could. You just don't know the effects of smoking glun fluid, which could be pretty awesome.
And we'll probably find out that his cigar is actually that dream tobacco, Dream Castle tobacco.
I've been smoking it for years.
Whitmire did have a couple bouts of madness. He went and spiked your tobacco stand. Let me see if you...
Oh, dude, you know that there's probably like a Cuban cult somewhere over there probably rolling tobacco or cigars and having like weird stuff added into it. Like, why wouldn't you, right?
Okay, everybody should be able to control that sensor if they wish. They can move it if they so desire. But as you're burning it, it does cast a greenish, less than pleasant light while it's burning. Would you give a D10 roll for me? We'll have you do it, Glover.
How does it smell?
Well, it smells mostly of the sage. You don't pick up on the other property of it, so it smells pretty good. It just doesn't look pleasant.
Guess this is one of those things, kind of like my wife's cooking. Sometimes it looks a bit off, but works out in the end.
Ain't so bad.
I'm going to give it a little poke, like my pocket knife or something.
Yeah, so you see it's like a fire-safe cigarette. It just goes out really easy. There's something retardant quality in the incense that you guys have made up, which is basically just glun fluid or sage infused with glun fluid. So there's something that keeps it from catching the way a nice dry sage would.
Which probably got soaked. You really went to
too much.
town with that glun fluid there, didn't you, Monroe?
Yeah.
Thing can barely keep a light.
Yeah.
Could we perhaps, I don't know, maybe throw some of this furniture in the fireplace and get a nice coal? Would that go against tradition for you?
Yeah, I suppose that would be a possibility, is having like a solid coal
Right. Yeah.
that could, and with the sensor.
Well, you could do the same thing in the sensor as well.
Yeah.
The problem is when the actual material wants to burn, right? Sometimes it just seems to resist it. It's like a little slow to take. It does eventually burn up, so that's never going to be a problem. It's just for
I
how
gotta
long.
fuss with it.
How long each will burn is that's the game mechanic, if you want to know in meta terms.
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
Occasionally it will have to be tended with,
Okay.
and you don't really see a way to correct it. Okay, so the chanting can begin, and as well as getting the incense burning, the ritual sacrifice is offered during the chant.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll
Who does the sacrificing? You guys can pick a point of the star you want to stand at too. It is snap to grid when you move your character, so if you use the arrow keys, it's just going to move you to the invisible grid that's there. But if you hit Alt while you do an arrow key, it's like a fine-tuned move. But if you hit Alt, drag, and drop, it'll put you right where you want it to be and not right on the grid. So you can pick whichever point you favor.
I'll take the northern
North
point,
Star.
and I'll sacrifice the lamb.
Are you guys going to fight over who sacrifices it?
No, I'll volunteer, and
I'll also
Calls over
volunteer.
there.
yeah, and when I sacrifice it, I'll mix in the human blood with its blood.
I'll take the western point as it gives me the
To start?
it gives me the most visual.
Yeah.
Also, the fireplace is there. Maybe we can still get a fire going in case I need more flame.
Need it for some reason. You might always need more fire. Okay, so as you guys begin chanting, you've done, a round or two of it. You do have the intuition based off your readings that it will take some time for some effect to occur just because of how Meriwether described it. So nothing much happens initially, but then you get up to sacrifice the lamb. So does anybody have any objections to that, or are you all committed to the sacrifice?
It's got to be done.
Yeah, I think if I was to have objections, it should have been voiced
Earlier?
a lot earlier. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's the forward mind and then there's the subconscious, and the way we play that is with a sanity roll while the sacrifice is occurring, whether or not this actually bothers you on some level. So everybody give me a sanity roll.
That's 2 failures so far, guys.
Oh, we are all
That's 3.
going down.
And we got to worry about Monroe going crazy. So does this happen right at the sacrifice, or could this be something that will...
It's during. This isn't going to be enough to drive anybody insane who is not already insane. So Whitmire's at risk here. This is just the thing that erodes you keeping a grasp on reality. Dang, everybody failed it. I roll so much better in testing. All right. So,
Bob.
So if you succeeded, you only lose 1. If you failed, you lose 4.
Oh, man.
We really should not have named that lamb.
We didn't.
What did you guys name the land? I forget.
I don't.
Oh, I remember Brandon's name for it. Shall not be uttered here. All right, so deduct your 4 sanity. In your case, Mr. Whitmire, who has such a tenuous grasp, and even as all these arrangements have been made, your friend, who is not your friend, has been lurking in the corner there.
Does him going into the pentagram affect that in any fashion?
His sanity?
No.
Oh, the figure?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't seem to.
Ah.
Which I would afford him another chance to overcome the figmentation, because in this case he's not really there, or is he? But yeah, he's been looking on with this with approval as far as you can detect. But you can try to fail a sanity roll for me, or sorry, intelligence roll.
Oh, man, come on.
You wanted to fail it anyway, so
Yeah.
that would
No, extreme success.
Yeah, I know.
Wasted in extreme success.
There you go.
Okay. Well, did you want to use some reverse luck on that?
Might as well.
Because in this one you want to fail, right?
Yeah, might as well. See it.
I have a-
So now the next thing you need me to succeed at, you just got to tell me I need to fail it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for the low cost of 7 or 8 luck, you'll make that a failure. And basically the implications that would have driven you into a bout of madness don't. You know, it's like a mental trick to keep your mind protected. You know, you're not thinking of the fact that you actually participating in animal sacrifice endorses the barbarism of the past and all that goes along with it, you know. And like, what does this make you? You're not a civilized man. You are the killer you thought you were, blah, blah, blah. None of that occurs. Instead, you shudder at the sight, which the disturbing thing about it is the lamb takes to his slaughter, his sacrifice, with relative ease, you know. Monroe's read about it a bunch of times, so he knows how it's done. And there's not much suffering, as you can as you can see. You know, the throat is just slit, and it kind of goes down on its the knees of its forelegs, and then falls over on its side, and you gather up the blood. And
tell me, Whitmire, do you still hear it at night? The screaming of the lambs.
What the heck just happened?
But for the rest of you, what is... So Dr. Call just, you know, he's just says, he's like, that's worse than I thought it would be. So yeah, Dr. Call just says that, dear me, that is worse than I expected. Andrews, what do you think of animal sacrifice? Has a biblical foundation, mind you.
Yeah, no, I think it doesn't bother me, but what concerns me is that
You're committing some sin.
no, that we're sacrificing the lamb, and now what we're about to do has become very real.
Right.
Right,
It's a,
like the
a signal
notion-
of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Glover? Much easier killing people.
I think, yeah. People give you a reason.
Right.
Maybe that's the angle I'm going to go with. Or maybe we could also say something to do with actually, we'll go Silence of the Lamb style. Maybe something to do with spring slaughter. Never liked it. Lamb never did anything.
Right.
And this lamb isn't going to be eaten. Maybe.
Okay, on the turn order, I've added the magic invested into this ceremony so far. So for your sacrifice, that's how many magic points were put into it. You will see that go up as you guys chant. So, for those who remain as chanters and who are not the watcher, I assume you go on to keep an eye on things as the chanting, the ceremony, at least to the observer, enters a sort of mundane phase of just constant chanting of this one chant over and over again. The breaks are taken to refresh yourselves, you know, take a drink of water or whatever. But for those who are in the chanting, a weird thing begins to occur as it goes on where you kind of lose a sense of the here and now. It's not like it disappears, but it's like your focus is more correctly drawn into what you're doing or what's occurring inside the pentagram itself. Things outside of it look like things that are occurring on a TV screen in another room with the volume low that you can see. Like you're aware of it, but they don't seem to disturb you. So this kind of has an effect. As long as you're in this trance, certain things outside of it won't affect you, but you also won't be able to react to them as well. If you're outside of the chant, then it's harder, or the trance, it's harder for your chants to invest magic into the ceremony.
Okay.
So it's like...
But I'm able to interact with stuff that...
For you, since you're not really doing the chanting, although you can if you wish, you're totally out of it, right? And the interior looks the same, and they might as well just be a bunch of loonies in the woods in an old house chanting after slaughtering a lamb from the outside, right?
For Dr. Andrews, does his time vision give him any additional like weirdness or...
Yeah, so you kind of see these lines, the collected lines of those people who are chanting in the pentagram sort of begin to converge together and intertwine. And that becomes more and more elaborate as the ritual continues.
Okay.
Is it like when you take a bunch of fuses on fireworks and
Right.
start twisting them?
Right. Very good analogy. Yeah, so let's begin. So after about an hour of this, something occurs. So a force arrives. Its coming is marked out by a change in atmospheric pressure, like the arrival of a storm. Deep, inaudible, this you've heard before, the rhythmic bass note causes the whole house to shudder. And you get this, even for you guys who are in the inner circle, get a sense of this because the thing that has arrived has come from more than just its physical location on planet Earth, but it causes the whole house to rattle, and a deep bass note. Then from above, you hear sort of a guttural curse in an unknown language. This, you think, is on top of the roof. Maybe a curse because it has been stymied by your wards around the house. But then there's silence, and only the low-pressure feeling remains to signal that something is still here. Everybody give me a luck roll. Good.
Come on, John. Oh, call too? Dang.
Everybody's
Okay.
failing this one.
Andrews, did you roll?
I got a hard
Okay, I didn't see
success.
you. All right, yeah. Looks like only the good doctor is lucky today.
Yep.
Perhaps you'll all be sheltered by my luck.
It's because you're getting all that good karma for harboring the book for so long.
All right, so these electric torches that you were all carrying, they flicker with the same rhythm of that bass sound until, in most of your cases, they all go out, except for the good Dr. Andrews. And, of course, you have the light from the sensor.
In the fire.
Oh, did you get the fireplace going?
Yeah, I wanted one in case, like, my lighter decided to not work.
Okay.
But, I mean, if you're guttering light, you can gutter that pretty easy probably, too. So
No, it's interference with electrical devices.
that said, I wouldn't have built the fire up to be big.
Right.
Because I don't know what that chimney is, what condition it's in. I don't want to start a fire.
Well, we'll just give it like your standard D&D torch light effect.
Just enough to make everything in the room we're in very shadowy or dark. I like that.
All right. So that thing has arrived but gone silent. Your lights have flickered out with only the naturally burning fires and Dr. Andrews' electric torch still going. Now, the way this works for chanting and investing more magic into the ceremony is you can either make a power roll or constitution roll. If you succeed, a point goes into the magic invested. If you get an extreme success, 2 points go in. If you get a critical, 5 points go in. The luck may be used and they may be pushed if desired. So Dr. Edward Call can begin the chant. John, did you want to roll that out? Do you want to do... You can
You
do
got a hard
constitution
success.
or power.
So what happens if you run out of magic points? Do you begin investing hit points or do you just
Yes.
stop?
Yes, it starts going into your hit points. But
you're-
you can stop if you want to.
Okay, I was going to ask, if you're chanting, do you have to do the roll?
Yeah, if you're chanting, then you're doing the roll, yeah.
So
Okay.
Edward Call got a 20 hard success.
All right, and then for Whitmire, who's also chanting, and as
He'll
I
use
described,
power.
power for Whitmire.
Yeah, success.
Oh, you got a good power. All right, Andrews, your turn to chant.
Failure.
You gotta
Luck or push?
luck. Or not.
Maybe your MP needs a break.
With each point of magic, is the twisting of the threads getting tighter?
Yes, and you're seeing something occur to the lines on the pentagram. It's almost like they're glowing softly, although you can't be sure. It could be a trick of your eyes.
And what happens if you fail a push?
You have no idea.
Something bad. Just
I'll use luck.
Okay. I was just gonna say, just let it ride.
Luck.
And we know that it can get real bad based on how you found the book.
All right, Jack, so you're observing this for now, unless you want to join in with chanting.
Yeah, I'm going to. I think when the lights went out and the bass note hit, he started grasping firmly to the idea that this incense is very important.
Okay.
And so I'll be kind of like blowing on it right now,
Almost
gently.
like a talisman.
Yeah,
It seems to be burning okay for now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that, like you said, game mechanic, he'll
Yeah.
try to go out at some point, but this is just what he's doing.
And as the watcher, unless you state you're doing some specific action that would take up your turn, I'm going to assume you're holding your attention to react to something. So you can interject if you wish, if something occurs and you haven't taken a separate action.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Monroe.
All right. Power. Extreme success.
Nice.
That's 2 points. Okay. Round 2.
Do we feel that the entity is in the circle?
No,
No.
not yet.
Okay.
You think you're still generating the required power to draw it to that point.
Okay.
Could they theorize that the entity knew that they had started the ritual.
Yeah, that's probably why it
Okay.
came.
So we're
And also, like, I'm kind of assuming that before we started that there had been some sort of signal given to Dr. Call to throw that powder at the right time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want him to do it, he's got it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if anybody else wants to take over, then they can. But yeah,
Dr. Call's a boss. Like, I'd leave it in his hands.
All right, so the silence continues. You have no clue, no understanding that something awful and beyond comprehension is atop the roof, except for this feeling of the encroaching storm. So we get to go into another round. If you want to roll out calls and Whitmire's chanting rolls for me.
This call succeeded, and I got extreme success
nice.
on mine.
All right, Dr. Andrews.
Nice.
Extreme
Nice.
success.
You guys are rolling well tonight.
Suddenly,
yeah,
inexplicably.
killing that lamb did us some good. We got to carry those around with us, apparently.
Or was it the hobo blood?
Could be the hobo blood.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just have to carry around one of each.
I'm just wondering when we start carving these wording symbols into ourselves to be safe. Like, this is something that probably should have already happened.
Okay, so
That's what I'll do after I lose my sanity.
Why wait?
So you have a relative unease here, but nothing from the outside has disturbed you. But Jack, you're most aware of this since you're most attuned with what's going on in the farmhouse while they are attuned with what's going on in the pentagram, and thus don't really react to it. But you hear something heavy thud against the northern door and a sort of twist and wrenching of wood sound. And it is your action, and you were holding one anyways, so
Yeah.
what do you want to do based off of that? If you guys ever want to react to something like that, just let me know. You can dip out of it. It's not going to phase you initially.
Gameplay wise, how's the incense looking? Is it beginning to is it still going good? Like, I know that there's a tracker. I'm trying to ignore it.
Go ahead and meta. Just don't say meta things, right? Like, you can say it's getting low. You can say it's got 3 rounds left.
All right. So my action this turn will be prepping the next batch.
All right. So you roll a d10, and that roll will be added to the tracker.
Okay.
If you roll less, though, it won't. So if you roll a 1 or 2, you're going to have to, like, something went wrong with adding. It didn't burn quite as well.
Oh, I see. So it'd be better to wait till it's like
As
a
low
1.
would give you the highest odds of
Okay.
adding
Yeah.
to it.
So, like I said, I'll just be preparing it then.
Okay.
Like, getting it out. I don't know if, like, Monroe had me, break it a certain way or prep it in
Right.
some fashion, right?
So yeah, there's this loud
I'll be
crunching
keeping an eye on
sound
that door.
on the outside.
Travis' hands are shaking. This is,
I'm excited.
Blood's in the air.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So on to you, Monroe.
All right, another power roll. Barely a success, but it got there.
It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
The record books would beg to differ.
Okay. At this stage, the incense does begin to flicker a little bit in the greenish cast of its light. That's just your 2-round warning.
Yep. All right.
Go ahead and give me a listen roll, Jack Glover. The rest of you may opt to take it, but that means that you come out of the trance that you're in the pentagram.
Gonna have to trust him.
Was it 9?
Okay, 11.
Oh, 11. Can I just stick with 9?
That's up to him.
It's quite one of the things as a game master I don't try to change about reality is math. So it kind of depends. We agree on that at least.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be an annoying game master if he even changed math for his arbitration of reality and the rules.
Yeah. I rolled a 6. I have a +2. I end up with an 8. Nope, you got a 4. Man, why?
I'm
Because
the
of
game
math.
master, aren't I?
That's kind of how I did my attacks back in the early days.
My table, my math.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna let it stay.
Okay.
Might need that luck. Don't want to push it.
All right. So, aside from the thump at the northern door, there is a hush in the farmhouse, besides the omnipresent Latin chant. And we'll have to close the scene there and find out what happens next time. Thanks for playing, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks,
you.
man. Looking forward to it. Where's the...
This has been a Deathwatch production. Thank you for listening.